Starvation and malnutrition due to a lack of finances or support should not be an issue facing hard-working university students. However, this is the reality for many. Food insecurity is an issue which can vary in severity, as depicted in the figure on your screens from the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. Food security ranges from a low level at a stage of uncertainty regarding ability to obtain food through to a severe level when not having food for a day or more. A study conducted by BCM Health on 855 first-year university students across 8 US universities found that 19% of participating students were found to have food insecurity, and a further 25.3% were at risk of food insecurity. Simply getting by is an issue which faces many college students, juggling casual and part-time work, full-time study, and fending for themselves in the real world for the very first time. It is about time something is done about it, and today we will work through the solutions to this problem. My name is Justin, and together with Alyssa, Erica, Stephen, Amanda, and Sam, we will be bringing light to the issue of food insecurity for college-age students. I have seen the realness of this issue firsthand as students who are my friends, classmates, or peers have faced the difficulties of maintaining a mere basic diet due to lack of funds and/or support in place from their universities and other networks. This is a battle which nobody should have to face or fight alone. It is also an issue which should alarm each and every one of you. Whether or not you have been directly impacted yourself, you will undoubtedly know of people or have fellow peers experiencing this everyday struggle. Who knows, this could be a situation you could find yourself in the near future with no apparent way out. Our group came to the following thesis statement. Food insecurity among college-age students is a problem that is often forgotten about. With the plan of action created, the hope is to offer a better solution to students in need. This will be answered by doing the following. Today we will provide you with an overview and analysis of this issue within the lives of college students, provide criteria on what constitutes an effective solution, provide examples of potential solutions, and then evaluate these solutions to figure out the best way to implement them and create change. Food security is an issue which has a largely unclear definition and is vastly underanalyzed, which leads us into the definition and analysis of the problem.
Hi, my name is Erica, and today I'm going to be talking to you about what food insecurity is and the causes and effects it has on college-age students. According to Feeding America, which is a nationwide network of food banks, food insecurity is when a household is unable to provide enough food for every person to live an active and healthy lifestyle. Food insecurity is a term that we use in the United States to gauge hunger. Hunger became a public problem in the 1960s for the first time. Even though there were already protocols in place for families without access to food, in 1967 more federal programs were put into place to help families in need. According to the USDA, in 2018, there were 37.2 million people living in a home where food insecurity took place. Of those 37.2 million people, 6 million were children. Feeding America has estimated that 1 in 10 of their 46.5 million clients were post-secondary students, or college-age students. A study done by Erica Phillips and her colleagues in 2018 said of those students, Pell-eligible students, students of color, and students at two-year institutions were more likely to experience food insecurity than any other college-aged kids. According to two writers from the Washington Post, Strauss and Raab, many policymakers have pictured college-age students as privileged, even coddled, enjoying large amounts of parental support while spending more time at parties than in class. This image has led policymakers to not think of the financial burden that is put on some college kids, and has strayed them away from figuring out why some college kids struggle throughout college. Well, 5 years ago, in 2015, is when all that changed. A survey called #TheRealCollegeSurvey was created to find out the actual well-being of college-age students. The survey asked questions about health, food security, housing, and much more. The survey from this year summarizes more than 330,000 students enrolled at more than 400 different colleges and universities. The study found that 4 in 10 of the students were affected by food insecurity in the last 30 days prior to completing the study, and about 16% experienced homelessness in the past year. So what causes food insecurity? The main reason for food insecurity to take place is when a family has an unplanned circumstance happen, such as job layoffs, accidents, family emergencies, car problems. When a family is allotted a certain amount of money to spend for the month and then they have to spend it on something like car troubles, it can really put them in a situation when they don't have enough money to pay for their rent or their food, and they can go hungry. For college age students, a lot of it is just trying to handle too much. In college, you're trying to maintain a GPA, if you have a full-time job, a social life. Oftentimes it can be too overwhelming and they decide to quit that job, or they don't show up and get fired, and then they don't have money to pay for food or the things that they need to pay for. Along with that, college age students are paying for a lot at a young age. Tuition is expensive, housing is expensive, and then on top of that, trying to pay for food for yourself, oftentimes it can lead them to feeling very overwhelmed and to forgetting to pay for something or to choose to not pay for food. Lastly, college age students are very independent. We like to do things on our own. 18 to 22-year-olds feel like they need to be independent, that we're adults, so we have a hard time asking for help. College age students are the number one issue with food insecurity is that they won't ask friends for help. They're embarrassed. They don't want to go to the university and see what options they have. So it's important that the university make it very clear that there are options, or to create options for kids that maybe aren't getting food. So what are the effects of food insecurity on students? Obviously, the number one reason that people think of students is their academics. And food insecurity definitely does have negative impacts on academics. First of all, your brain needs food to think and to take tests, but also if you're worrying about when your next meal is, it's hard to focus on your school. A study done in 2016 actually found a correlation between food insecurity and the negative impacts on students' education. And there was also this really cool study done in 2018 by Erica Phillips and her colleagues, and they found a lot of surprising numbers about dropout rates, lowering course load rates, and neglecting school responsibilities. So I'm going to read those to you really quick. So they found that students battling with food insecurity were 3.49 times more likely to think about dropping out of school due to the money they owe. They also found that they were 3.58 times more likely to drop their course load, and students that work a full-time job are 6.87 times more likely to adjust their course load accordingly. Lastly, they found that they were 3.42 times more likely to neglect their school responsibilities and work. Which makes sense. If you're trying to tackle a full-time job and full-time school, that can be a lot to handle, and so students feel like they need to lower their coursework so they can pay for it, stuff like that. Lastly, the biggest issue with food insecurity everywhere among all age groups is the negative health effects it has. When I think about the cheapest food option, I do think of fast food, McDonald's, and so oftentimes people that are struggling to afford their food, they do go to McDonald's, and that can lead to type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, and obesity. And developing that at such a young age as 18 to 22, where we develop a lot of our health habits during then, it can negatively impact us for the rest of our lives. I have presented to you the ways in which food insecurity affects college-age students. Next, we will present ways in which food insecurity should be assessed and present possible solutions.
So, of course, as any solution has to come from somewhere, so does the solution for food insecurity. So there must be certain criteria met to validate these solutions. The first one being there must be a statistical decrease in college students reporting food insecurity. As you can see in the chart on the presentation, there is a large percentage of students reporting to at least be food insecure, including housing insecure, homelessness, things like that. So it is a real problem statistically students are facing. In a nationwide study published by the Hope Center for College Community and Justice in May, it revealed the troubling truth about life on campus. Nearly half of college students are going hungry. That statistic was given in the article, nearly half of college students go hungry, so why isn't more being done about it? Given by Lawler in 2019. Students must also consistently partake in the solutions proposed. At Berkeley, the food pantry is not being used to its full capacity because many students feel embarrassed about needing help. That was given by Hunger on Campus, the Fight Against Student Food Insecurity by Otto Ahmad in 2019. So these solutions need to promote a safe place, a way for students to not feel embarrassed about reaching out for help, because of course no solution works if students won't go. The need for student loans and scholarships must decrease if the overall standard of living stays the same in that community or college. College students spend an average of $8,993 on food and groceries over the course of their time in school. That was given by College Student Spending Habits for 2020, written by Lexington Law, also in 2020. So $8,993. That's almost $9,000, which can either be one large scholarship or many small scholarships adding up over time. Nonetheless, it is a large portion of fees that students are having to pay just to continue their education, and many students will instead lessen their food intake with a decrease in health, with lesser GPA, over buying books. You prioritize paying for classes and buying your books before you buy your next meal. So the general GPA should rise, as those who had a 3.1 GPA or higher were 60% less likely to study or to suffer from food insecurity. That was given by Lee in 2019, the article, What Factors Increase Risk for Food Insecurity Among College Students. So, of course, GPA boost will not be as shown as a large boost. It's not going to jump to a 4.0 immediately, but there will be a slow rise that will eventually stagger out of an increase in GPA, as there are so many students that are suffering from food insecurity. I mean, around 60 to 70% of students are suffering from food insecurity. So if all of those are able to not be food insecure, the GPA should be rising alongside it. So student services will also begin to spend more money on other programs as food insecurity will be lesser. One thing that student services should be paying for is the issue of food insecurity. And once solutions are established, especially the ones that involve the community and donations and things like that, they should be able to spend more money on other aspects of student life. So state funding has decreased by 25% per student over the last 30 years, and states have cut $9 billion from higher education in the last 10 years alone. In public universities, budget cuts have led to significant reductions in student services. This was given by Ordway 2019 in the article College Students Hunger, How Access to Food Can Impact Grades and Health. And of course, any solution, including the use of government aid based off of statistics, such as the FAFSA, must include consideration of special circumstances. In the article, 5 Things You Didn't Know About Your Financial Aid Award, from the official blog of the U.S. Department of Education in 2016, wrote, "We understand that the FAFSA does not always accurately reflect your family's current financial situation, and those can change." Of course, with an unexpected financial aid situations that hits many students regarding a loss or reduction of income, many students need financial aid assistance that would not have previously. One of the solutions to that problem, of course, would be using multiple other statistics, which a lot of schools do not implement, such as unemployment. But unemployment filing can happen at any time, and that could fall under the special circumstances category. So, though these statistics are daunting, we have a few solutions to help assist college students with food insecurity.
One possible solution that would help diminish food insecurity on college campuses would be the placement of a food pantry on campus. With a food pantry, students would have access to a variety of non-perishable items at little to no cost. However, some people might wonder how stocking this food pantry would be possible when there are student service budget cuts being made. This can be accomplished by more fortunate students lending a helping hand to their struggling college attendees. One way to keep a stocked food pantry on campus would be to offer things such as free university sporting tickets and/or discounts for local stores across town to students who are capable of donating items such as canned fruits, vegetables, pastas, rice, or cereals. Another way that we could ensure to have a stocked food pantry on campus is to give students the opportunity to donate their leftover meal plan balance that will not roll over onto the next semester. With this extra money, student service employees could visit local grocery stores and purchase items to place within the food bank on campus for food insecure students to access. While allowing individuals to help provide for other struggling students creates a great sense of community around campus, the food pantry would also take outside donations from local grocery stores, campus staff, and citizens as well. In addition to having food banks on campus, another possible way to ensure that students are not struggling to keep themselves fed would be to give local restaurants the opportunity to have an event once a week where students are able to attend the said restaurant and order meals off of a small menu at little to no cost. In order for this to work and to avoid restaurants being taken advantage of and losing money, food insecure students would have to qualify for this opportunity. When food insecure students are deemed eligible to attend this event, they will receive an electronic code that will need to be scanned at the restaurants willing to participate. Like I mentioned previously, with this code, students are able to order off of a selected menu created by the restaurant at little to no cost. They can order up to 3 meals for the week. Another solution that seems easy to accomplish in order to reduce food insecurity among college students would be to implement something to Oklahoma's public schools free lunch system for students who qualify. In order to accomplish this, Student Services in the Bursar office would look at the students' FAFSAs and then determine whether or not they qualify for the service. If students did qualify, they could be offered a number of free meals on campus each week. Another possible solution that would help eliminate food insecurity among college students would be to implement a sponsorship where local families are able to fund a student in need. In order to implement this kind of funding, students could apply for a sponsorship for donations online. Like the previously mentioned solution, students would qualify based off of their FAFSA information. Once students are selected to become part of this program, families would be able to pick a student through an online service to sponsor throughout that academic school year. Sponsoring families would be able to provide food items and meals to food insecure students that they otherwise would not be able to afford. Now, all 4 of these solutions seem easy enough in the grand scheme of things, but let's take a minute to evaluate them. With the implementation of food pantries on campus, food insecure students would have access to different items at no cost. However, let's dig a little deeper into some pros and cons of a food pantry and exactly how our ideas to make it work would be effective. Just like any other solution to an issue, regardless of how effective it is, there will always be a downfall or two. For example, one con of food pantries that students might face is the potential for only non-nutritious foods to be available. Because a majority of healthy foods are perishable, it might make it hard for food insecure students to have access to nutritious foods such as fruits, vegetables, dairy, and meat throughout the use of a food pantry. However, one way to avoid this negative aspect would be to create a large enough food pantry to keep items such as fruits, vegetables, dairy, and meat in an environment with a controlled temperature and even a refrigeration system in order to stay fresh. Although there are some negative aspects about food pantries on campus, the pros outweigh the cons by a long shot. For example, although food pantries may lack healthy foods, in addition to it being easy to fix, like I previously mentioned, students having access to free foods is better in the long run than them being food insecure. This solution would be easy to manage and extremely effective as well. In addition to digging a little deeper into the resolution of food banks, let's look at our solution of recruiting restaurants to partake in a weekly meal event. By implementing the possibility of local restaurants giving back to college students in need, it creates a sense of community and develops relationships between students, citizens, and restaurant staff. When relationships like these are made, it can lead to a magnitude of possibilities as well. Some of these could include food insecure students being offered jobs at these restaurants, which would increase their income, potentially leading them out of the poverty that they are in, which in return would bring them out of their food insecurity. In addition to being offered potential jobs, creating interpersonal relationships can also lead people donating food items directly to the food insecure students, which would obviously help their situation tremendously. As you can see, offering students an opportunity to bond with locals while being given hot meals can open a variety of doors for the food insecure individuals. Now, let's take a look at the possibility of implementing something similar to the public schools lunch program. This solution has been proven effective for many years throughout the public school systems in the United States. By being easy to qualify for students based off of their parents' income, colleges can mimic this strategy by qualifying students based off of their FAFSA information. When the Bursar office and student services select who could potentially be food insecure, They are able to award their meal plan free meals each day of the week to ensure that they are being fed. In addition to being easy to implement, this solution can give food insecure students a sense of normalcy by being able to use their meal plans just like other college students without feeling embarrassed or ashamed. Lastly, let's evaluate the sponsorship program that I mentioned previously. Through implementing a system where local families are able to help provide for food insecure students in need, we are able to gain a sense of community and develop interpersonal relationships within the town. Being in need can be embarrassing to some students, so through this program, like some of the others we discussed, it creates an opportunity for students to avoid feeling embarrassed or ashamed while still receiving all of the items that they are needing. Not only does this allow students to create relationships with other members of the community in addition to gaining access to food, but it also allows the sponsoring families to give back to their community in a positive way.
With food insecurity on the rise for most college students, one solution that we came up with is having a food pantry on university campuses. That way students can go and grab items from this pantry and will not be charged for those they take. The pantry rely on donations to help stock the shelves with items. Another way to help supply food for the pantry is to donate food items or do a school-wide food drive, which will donate half the collected food that they receive to the food bank, and then also donate the other half to other shelters and food banks in the local area. A lot of the time, students are not aware of some of the shelters and food pantries around them in the area they live. We would like to see university bring more of this issue to the forefront and inform students that they are not alone and that there are people to help them. By simply putting up information flyers, having information sessions, and students allowing them to post on social media. Strategies for implementing these solutions. One way we can definitely best way we can bring this to the forefront is posting on social media. All of us have social media in some way and go on in most days. And so by organizing different media platforms.
In summary, today we presented to you the issue of food insecurity for college-age students and suggested solutions to see a change occur. If this is an issue which impacts you, someone you know, or if this topic has sparked something in you which wants to see this issue fixed, then go out and speak to relevant college bodies and inform them of what needs changing to put appropriate support in place for students struggling with food insecurity. Suffering students should not have to battle this issue alone with no support, and student voices need to be heard. Thank you.